For 2010, we're going to take the biggest leap since the original iPhone. Today, we're introducing iPhone 4.
The iPhone 4. I'm really pleased to tell you today all about the brand new iPhone 4S.
I'm actually as proud of the things we haven't done as the things I have done. Steve Jobs. The Apple iPhone 4S was perhaps one of the most innovative smartphones of its time and is often classified as one of the last true Steve Jobs era iPhones. However, the iPhone 4S was not actually released while Steve Jobs was the CEO of Apple. Due to health conditions, Steve Jobs was forced to resign before the Apple keynote, in which this iPhone was announced, and unfortunately, he passed away exactly one day after the keynote. This story is a well-known one, and this is the reason why this iPhone 4S is often told as Steve Jobs' vision of how the iPhone was meant to be. However, today, I wanted to show you something. Something I think you'll find quite interesting. Every iPhone 4S that was sold in retail would have been made well after the point in which Steve Jobs was no longer the CEO of Apple. But this device is different. Here is an iPhone 4S. An iPhone 4S that was made while Steve Jobs was the CEO of Apple. Here today is an iPhone 4S prototype. An Apple prototype is a device that Apple engineers poured blood, sweat, and tears into to create a device that you can purchase as a consumer. Prototype Apple devices of any kind, due to the nature of them, are often rare and in very limited supply. Officially, once a prototype is decommissioned from use, it is destroyed. Luckily for history preservationists, this iPhone 4S is one of the very few devices that managed to escape this fate. Before we discuss the historical significance of this particular prototype, here's a little history on how this extremely rare iPhone came to be in my possession. This iPhone has a rather interesting history. Its story doesn't start in California, but in Shenzhen, a city located in China. From the specific information I've been able to find, this iPhone was used by engineers to analyze the software behavior of crashing a specific hardware component known as the baseband of the iPhone. This crash test was done while the iPhone was still running, and immediately after crashing the baseband, the phone would then immediately check to make sure that the baseband and all of its data is still readable. Once this testing was completed, this iPhone had been sent to a recycling facility to be demolished. From this facility, it was able to eventually escape without being reduced to scrap, and after swapping many people's hands, eventually made its way into mine. Many prototype devices share a very similar history to this particular unit. However, this iPhone has to be by far one of the most historically significant pieces I've managed to ever obtain. Every Apple device has a serial number, a series of identifiable information which is unique to every Apple device ever manufactured. This iPhone's manufacture date falls just 1 week before Steve Jobs resigned as the CEO of Apple. While to some people, it might just seem like this is some old obscure piece of development hardware, and they technically are right, but really, this truly is much, much more than that. This prototype represents the end of Steve Jobs' lasting legacy at Apple, with these prototypes being one of the very last units that was ever manufactured under his complete supervision. As you've probably already been able to tell, this iPhone does not run conventional iOS. It does technically run a form of iOS, however it is not designed to be consumer friendly. You won't find any of the typical apps you would expect from when this iPhone was manufactured, such as the YouTube app and the camera app and the phone app. The applications on this iPhone are specifically designed to help the Apple engineers who would be using such a piece of hardware. Now on to the outside of this device. This particular prototype is a DVT stage, which basically stands for Design Validation Testing. To kind of decode this for you, imagine that this is kind of a halfway point prototype in which it's not exactly really early where it doesn't even look like an iPhone yet, but it's also not too late in which the actual hardware itself is one-to-one with production iPhones. Something rather interesting that I noticed was upon disassembly of this prototype iPhone, I saw that the copyright date on the screen was actually 2010, and for those who don't know, the iPhone 4S was introduced in 2011, which makes it kinda crazy if you think about it. I also noticed that many of the other components, including the battery, the logic board, the housing, and basically everything, was marked as DVT, which is pretty cool in my opinion, because it shows that all of the parts in this iPhone were all developmental and none of them had been replaced. I've been wanting to make this video for a long time, but I was especially motivated because this year is actually the 10-year anniversary of the iPhone 4S, and I believe that it deserves a video, especially on such a significant milestone. I hope you all enjoyed this video, and if you'd like to see more content like this, please leave a like and even consider subscribing because that would really help my channel and motivate me to keep making videos like this. Anyways, I hope you all have a really good one.